Hey everybody, and welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room, and I am doing my top 9 games of the month of March. Lots of games played, so I've got lots of exciting games to talk about. But before that, we have a sponsor, Games and Couples, which is part of Oshrat Online Counseling, and they concentrate on couples counseling utilizing the Gottman method. And what they've discovered is that a great way to put those method into practice was through gameplay, and specifically co-op games. So they're including a lot of board games as a tool in their counseling session, and I think that's just amazing. So be sure to check the comments for their link and check them out. So let's have a look at my month of March. I played 57 times of 50 different games. Now, I've been hosting the local Acme Legion game day, so that definitely helps to go towards my gameplay. Plus, I attended Gobfest, so 3 full days of board gaming, played tons of games, and it was amazing. So that definitely helped with the numbers as well. Let's get started then. So in the number 9 position, I have Pan Am. Pan Am. And this one is a game that I had purchased through a friend who was selling some collection. He needed to liquidate some of his games, so I bought this one because I've heard a lot about it. It's one that gets mentioned, but I didn't know a whole lot more about it, other than it's kind of like a route building, but with planes. And so I decided, I was like, okay, and I've been trying to concentrate on working towards kind of shedding the games off my shelf of shame, and I've every Friday I post. Oh, I'm saying that every Friday I post. I don't think I posted yesterday. So I'll be posting late today. But every Friday I try to post the hashtag shed the shame Friday. So I'll have to go back and do that. But so every often I'll kind of look at the shelves and, okay, which one have I not played, and make a point of playing and learning it. And Pan Am made it to the table this past month, and it was good. It was really interesting. Let me show you what it looks like. So this is like at the setup. I should have taken a better picture when there was more going on the board, and I did take pictures, but they were all really close up. So be sure to check out my Instagram or my Facebook page to see those pictures. But so each player has a different airline, and you start with like 2 little planes and a medium plane, and eventually you get bigger plane that you can acquire, and you're going to need bigger plane to be able to go and do longer routes. And then when it'd be like, okay, so between this city and this city, it's like a destination or like a length of 1, so the little plane can go there, and now you're offering that flight through your airline. You can also put airport, because in order to be able to offer that flight, first you need to have the plane to be able to make that trip, but you also need to have the cards to be able to kind of connect those two things. If you don't have the card, you can use 2 cards of the same color, or you can then kind of create 2 other cards. There's different ways you can apply the cards to be able to create and get kind of access to those cities. Or you can also build an airport, and then an airport is going to give you access to that city as well. So you kind of want to do that on a city that has a lot of connections, ideally. This one reminded me to kind of like a Railways of the World. Like, it kind of had that train game feel, but it's with planes. Components were super cute. It's a bidding game as well. You go and bid on what you want to do, because there's the different city cards that you can go and build on, so you can acquire those so you can continue building your routes. And you're building them. And then the Pan Am as well. At the end of each round, you roll the Pan Am dice, and this is where the company Pan Am is spreading, and they're going and spreading from the one city, and depending on the route that you roll on the dice and it's like, oh, it's the polka dotted die line, so it's going to spread this way. And they could be purchasing your lines from you. Now, that's good. It gives you a lot of money. And the way that you win is you create these lines so that you generate an income, and then you get your income and you buy your points. You buy shares in Pan Am. And those shares are going to be your total points. There's another game that did that. Oh, Tinner's Trail, where it's just you're collecting as much money as you can, but the whole goal is not to have money, it's to be able to purchase shares, and the price of the share is different every round. Oh my god, it was good. I really enjoyed this one. I can't wait to play it again. I'd like to try it with higher player count. But yeah, Pan Am was really good. Then in number 8 position, I played Modern Art. Now, if you've ever been to a board game convention with me and attended the auctions with me, I have no control. I get so into it that I keep bidding on these games, and I have like a stack that I go with, and it's ridiculous. And this game, Modern Art, is about bidding on art. And turns out I have just as little control in fake bidding and fake auction as I do in the real live one. So, but it's so neat. And this is a Reiner Knizia game. I'm a big fan of Reiner Knizia, and it's so well. So, and then the version I got, because actually I played it. It was my friend's copy, but he's moving overseas soon, so he's starting to get rid of some of the game in his collection, and he ended up selling this one to me. And it comes with a little gavel that was like sold. So it was a lot of fun. And then you have these different paintings that you have access to, and you're going to be putting them down and take turn like auctioning a painting. And there's little symbols on there that's going to show the type of auction it's going to be. Whether it's like, okay, we're going around and then highest bidder eventually gets the painting. Or one is like, you set the price and you're like, okay, I am selling this one for, $5,000, and then people can take it or leave it. And if they leave it, then you're buying it. Or you'll be one is like where it allows you to bring in a second painting, and then whatever of the same artist. It has to be the same kind of logo color. That's the same artist. But what's really interesting with this is because you're acquiring these painting and you're trying to get the most value from the painting you're putting in your, I don't know, I guess you're exhibiting them. I don't know how you get the money, but you get money afterwards. And it's whichever one has the most painting or the most interest. So like after we've done this whole round, it's like, okay, so there are 5 green painting out, so that was the most, so then it gets first dib because it has the most popularity, and so on. And then whoever has those paintings gets so much money per painting, and then you collect that money. And you have this little shield, and you put your money behind it. I'm guessing it's like your gallery, and you hide your money behind there so they don't know, because that's the money you're going to be bidding with as well. And then second position gets this much. Now, if you kind of do it so that the second round, it's the same painting that kind of has the higher, and it's kind of like from the painting of that round has like the most popularity that round. Well, now you add what value it gets this time plus the value of the last time as well. So it kind of builds up on popularity. So your paintings are going to be worth more, and that's good. But eventually, those aren't going to be popular towards the end of the game because they've been sold out. There's not going to be as many available, so they kind of dwindled out, out of sight, out of mind. And then the other ones are going to start getting more popularity, and it was really, really neat. I'm complicating in the way I think I'm describing it. It was not a complex game. It was fun, but it was so satisfying. Yeah, and I'm bidding. It's like, oh my god, what am I doing? Like, it's like, but fun. So fun. I'm so glad I have this one in my collection. It was a great game, and that's Modern Art. And then in number 7 position is Raw. So Raw's 1999. That might have been the oldest one on this list. And they've reprinted it recently, and I don't know if it was in 2021, 2022 or something, but the new version is quite a bit more colorful than this version, and this is the version that I have, though. But I still really like this one. I'm not going to trade mine for for the new one, although the new one is spectacular. So if you're picking one and you want that one, definitely go for it. But this one is still really neat, and that, to me, is really cool. And you have these little tiles that you're going to have with you. I think you start with 3, and in the middle one there's a 1 tile there, and it's like big tiles with numbers on it, but that's going to be part of your score, and it's also part of your bid, so you want to kind of be aware of what you're doing. So, and each, we take turn drawing in the bag and adding a tile to the lineup, and it could be a river, but you can't claim like you can't count the points on your river unless you have a flooding tile. So you need a flooding tile, but the river tiles don't go away from round to round, and they keep growing. So you just got to make sure that ideally you keep getting flooding tiles. Then you'll have these other tiles that have like different symbols on them, and then with those ones, it's having the most variety of them is going to give you the most points. And then there's one that comes up, and it's just whoever has the most gets 6, and whoever has the least gets -6. So you just want to make sure you have, you know, more than the least anyways, but ideally the most. And so each tile, depending on the combination of how it works, will score in a different way at the end of the round. And some of the tiles are kind of bidding tiles, so you'll flip it over and it forces a bidding. And so then you would have to go, like, everybody would decide if they want to bid yet. Now maybe there's not enough tiles there and you don't want to bid, so if nobody bids on those bidding tiles, it's okay, you keep going. But this is also the tracker of the round, so when it fills up with the bidding tiles, that's it, you're done, and you got what you got. But you can also bid on the bidding tiles, but you can also decide, okay, I'm invoking Rod, that's how we're calling it, and you put this little really cool 3D little kind of statuette in front of you that I'm invoking Ra and I'm bidding on this. And you're the last one to bid, so it's the benefit because you get to see what's being bid, and everybody then will take those tiles and can decide if they want to bid or not. And then there's like, you know, I think it's from 1 to 13 or 1 to 14. So, but if you put your 13, your chances of being outbid are very slim. You're probably winning this, but you're giving up that 13 points because those counts as points as well, and you're trading it and picking up that 1 that's there, right? So you got to consider that. Do I really want to bid that high? But I don't want to, like, there's a lot of river there, or, you know, whatever is happening. So I was like, okay, well, I'll bid my 2. So it's 1 above. So if nobody bids, you would get it, but chances are. And then you're doing this. But if you also hold back and, like, everybody's used up their 3 tiles, because you get to bid 3 times, so you got the 3 tiles. And that might vary depending on the player count. But once you've bid, then you can't bid anymore. And then if you're like the last man standing, I'm like, yeah, great, I'm just going to keep grabbing tiles. But you want to be careful as well, because some of those tiles have negative effects, and they actually trash some of the tiles you would have already have collected. So they're not all good. But, you know, so you're bidding, it was like, okay, then bid, and then that number becomes the next one. So then if it did bid with the 13 and replace the 1, so they got the 1, now it's the 13. So not only are you looking at the tiles, those are going to be attractive, but that 13 is going to be attractive too. So you would consider that as well. Such a neat, fun game. I really, really like it. I quite enjoy this one. It was so much fun. And that's Raw. Then in number 6 position for the month of March is 5 Tribes. This was a classic. We were at Gobfest, and my friend Kayla says, oh, I would love to play 5 Tribes with you. And I was like, yes, please. So I ended up grabbing it. We played it with a couple of new people, and it's still, oh, so good. Oh my God, this game is so clever. Plus, it's one of those games that there's really nothing out there that truly compares. It's not like, oh yeah, I really like this one. It plays just like that. Like, oh yeah, I really like this one. It's unique. Like, there's nothing that I have played personally that compares to this style. Now, you have, at the start, you have like all these tiles out, and you get 3 meeples of different colors on each tile. And you're going to take the meeples of one tile and you're going to travel to another tile. Now, you can, if you have 3 meeples, you're traveling 3 tiles away. But at each tile you stop, to, or go through, you have to leave a meeple behind, and you land on where your last meeple is going to go. That last meeple has to land on a spot where there's another meeple of its color, or at least one other meeple of its color. And then when you land there, you activate that meeple's color. And depending on the color, they do different things. The green goes to is a merchant one, and you go to the market, and you get to, depending on the amount of meeples there, which card's going to be available to you, and you get to collect some resources. And with those resources, it's kind of like an end of game scoring, and the most variety you have, the most points it's going to be worth. You'll have the red meeple, and the red meeple is an assassin, and it can, depending on how many red meeples you end up with, or if I end up with 2, I can assassinate another meeple up to 2 spaces away. And that's good, because if you ever get to a position where you take off the meeples or you assassinate the meeples and there's no meeples left there, you get to claim that tile, and you put your little camel on there to show that this is my location now. That's my camel. And then you also get to activate the tile itself. So you activate the meeple, then you activate the tile itself, and the tile will do different things as well. Some will allow you to add castles, some will allow you to add oases, and those are going to be palace, I guess, more than castle, but those are going to be worth more points. Some will allow you to go and collect if you want, like one of those special ability tile that you could add to your or end of game scoring tile. The whole thing is so neat. Plus the play order, you got to bid and decide how much, like, because if you see something that, oh my god, this is a perfect thing, and I would be able to get this, and I would be able to put a palace on it, and have the special ability that makes a palace worth 2 points more for me, so that would be really attractive. I really want to do that. But I think other people will see this and do it first, so then you bid on trying to get the first to start first, so that you can be the one to go and do that action. So you're bidding on your players, your starting or your player lineup, and then you get to go in that lineup. Maybe it's like, I can't see anything, so I don't care, I'm bidding 0. And then as you play, it's neat. This is such a cool game. I really love it. It can suffer from analysis paralysis, because there's so much to look at and consider when trying to figure out what move you want to do. But it's just a good game, so it's completely worth it in my mind. So that was my number 6, 5 tribes. Then in number 5 position, I have Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn, and I played this with some of my local gamer friends, and I actually played this again just 2 days ago. I really like this game. This is a card battle game. Now, last couple of times I played it 3 players, and it makes it a little bit longer, and I think it kind of makes some of the abilities not work quite as smooth, especially 2 days ago when we were playing it. It's best as a 1 versus 1. But if I can play it, and even if it's 3 players, I'll play it. Artwork is stunning, and you have these great dice, and those dice kind of dictate what your actions are going to be. Because if you're doing a main action, because you do main action and a side action, so that's how much you can do at each turn. And once you pass, then that ends the round, and you play until there's only one Phoenixborn standing. It's a battle to the death type of game. But each of the cards will have like a different cost. So it shows main action and a cost of a heart. So you need to spend a dice that has a heart type of value at least, or higher, and then you will put that into your kind of spent dice, and those dictate the different actions. So depending on what you roll, how strong the dices are, it might limit to the actions you can do as well. It's so fun. Each characters, because there's multiple different characters that have their own deck, and then you play with those, but each characters kind of have a different flair to it. I was playing with this one here, and I forget what he's called, but he had like these flower birds that were just unreal. So I had the one that could go in to protect other units, and then I had one that if it attacked, it's a poisonous flower bird, like you would die no matter, even though I only hit by 1. While my friend Kayla was playing more like a voodoo, and she had these voodoo dolls that she could play, but instead of playing them into her own battlefield, she puts them in other people's battlefield. Now, these voodoo dolls have attack of 0. They're kind of useless, except if you have a voodoo doll in your battlefield at the end of your round, you Phoenixborn takes a hit. So they just kind of like self sabotage, and it was like, oh no, not another voodoo doll. And you can do a side action that will injure itself by 1, but it has a life of 2. And when you do that action, it makes it so that it's been spent, so you can't activate it again until you unlock it again. And there's a term, and I'm totally not coming to my mind right now for that, but so, and it's like, great, so I can only hit it by 1, and now it's gonna hit my Phoenixborn, and then the next round, great, now I could sabotage again and get rid of this stupid voodoo doll. But now you just give me another 2. Like, it's an interesting character. But with that one, a lot of her cards had really strong abilities where when she was attacked, she could get these abilities, and it was a lot about bringing people back from the dead and that sort of stuff. Those were her main strength. But we were in the 3-player game, we weren't attacking her all that much because she wasn't building up, because she wasn't getting attacked to activate those ones. So it didn't work that great in a 3-player game. That character would have been better in a 1 versus 1. And then there was the other one where she could just put a lot of different things out there, and then she would have one that would be, this attacks by however many units you have out. And it's like, oh great, well I could, conjure all of these ones. So fun. I just really enjoy Asher's Rise of the Phoenixborn. It's such a great game. It's not one that gets to the table very often. Well, it didn't get to the table very often because I didn't really know anybody who liked it quite as much as I did. But now, last couple people that I played with really seem to enjoy it, so it gets to the table more and more. And that's just great. So in number 4 position for the month of March, we have Atiwa. So at Gobfest, you can go and register to play different games, and I signed up to play this one because I hadn't got to play it yet, and I've heard great things about it. So finally got to play, and I think I won. But it was really interesting because you're acquiring these map tiles that you're going to add to your board, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Terra Mystica, because what you put out of your of your main board of all the stuff you that, and you put them into your map, it frees up those locations, and the more you free them up, the more they're going to give you. So great, like I've freed up all of this, so then that actually allows me to take out and put out so many oranges, and it's great. So I'm putting out these oranges. We kept calling them pumpkin because they kind of look like pumpkin, but pumpkins don't go in trees, and that's the oranges is what they were. But so then you put these oranges, and then more oranges you free up actually allowed you to put more villagers out. Like it was just kind of worked where the more you did, the more you could do. But you also had to have enough maps out there. And it's a worker placement game because you have these different locations that, okay, so I'm going to go and activate this. So you really get into each other's way because you have your villagers, and they'll be able to store bats on them if they have been trained to the value of bats. But so you got to go on the action that allows you to train them, and that gives you more space to put bats. But if we're 4 people, it's like, oh man, what did you take that already? Okay, what am I gonna do? And then trying to decide what you're gonna figure out. So doing the actions, or going to spend some of the resources you got to acquire more tiles. Keep in mind though, if you do that, those resources you spend go back into the board, and it refills all the stuff you were able to reveal. So you want to try to get them revealed again. The whole thing was really neat, very interesting. It was a neat game. It says 30 to 120 minute play. I guess it didn't feel long, but it can take long. That's a huge gap, 30 to 120. But it was just a very neat game. Quite enjoyed that one. That was Atiwa. And in my number 3 position for the month of March is Dwellings of Eldervale. So I bought this secondhand from a friend. And he was kind of like, well, here, buy this one. It's a great game. And I'm like, oh, okay, really? He's like, no, I know you'll love it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll buy it. And it's a big, game. Actually, it's up there. Look, right here. So it's a fairly big game. It takes a lot of space. So I have it in my office here. Um, and I had to know nothing about it. I hadn't opened it. So I got home and I opened it. And look at the storage. The storage, all of like, so each character you could play as has their own little storage like this, and then that tile that shows what they do actually sits on top and it holds everything in place. Oh my god. And then all the components have their own little trays with lids. The game is just so well designed and it looks stunning. So I was already blown away with just that. And then I ended up playing it at the Acme Legion Day, and it was a lot of fun. So you have these tiles of these different locations, and then you can, it's worker placement. You have your workers. Now you'll have a warrior, you have a wizard, you have these different things that you can bring out, but you need to free them up before you can start placing those out. And you place them out, and you gotta place out from where you're at. And certain, like I think the wizards can just show up anywhere. It doesn't have to be attached to where you've started. But then you also get the monsters as well. And then you're gonna be kind of connecting. If you're all of a sudden you're on the same tile as another player, then you've got a battle. And you roll your dice to see, but then you can give yourself extra abilities with cards that you all have collected, and it was neat. It was so much fun. But with the battle, even if you lose a battle, you still get to kind of activate the tile first. So then that was kind of good. You get to do the action. The whole thing was so well designed. And then you're collecting resources, and I'll kind of go back to show you, because you have like that tray that holds all the resources. So you have like your little daggers and your hammers and your potions and your scrolls and your diamonds, and you just put them in there, and then you can spend those resources to go and purchase, I don't know if they're spells, but there's these cards that have these, or is it the tiles that you actually put out tiles as well? I think you do pull out the tiles as well, because you build that up as you go. The whole thing was so well made. It was so cool. And then every time a new tile comes up, you kind of add these new little tiles on it. So when you go there, you get that resources, and then you kind of take that tile away. And you can either take the tile to take the resources, or leave it there, or place it somewhere on your player board that's going to activate when it kind of generates. So then you get like this continuous generation of these resources. So that's something to consider as well. And then what's really cool as well is you have these little meeples that you place, and eventually if you want to build a dwelling, and now they'll give you kind of benefits and points at the end of the game, you leave your meeple there, because they're gonna be setting up shop there and settle there, and you take these little, and I'll show you, like you have this little roof, and it sits on top of your meeple, and your meeple becomes a house. So it was super cool. The whole play was so fun. I do want to play it again. We almost did a couple days ago. It just was kind of a long game, and the whole setup and all that, I didn't do any of that. I was just playing it, and I was playing distracted because I was helping other people at the game event as well. But it was great. I own it now, so I can play it. It was amazing. Next thing, number 2 for the month of March is Railways of the World. So this one's 2005. It's an older game. I first came across this one in Railways of the World, the card game, and fell in love with it. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And I was like, if I ever come across the board game, I want it. So a friend of mine was selling it with extra maps, and I ended up playing it actually at Gobfest. So Gobfest uses the software, or this was the first time they used the software, and I want to say it's Cardboard Event. And what's really cool with it is, as an attendee, you can go and set up a game that you're going to advertise your hosting. Say, okay, well, I'm going to be hosting Railways of the World. I'm taking up 2 spots, but there's room for 4 more, or whatever it was, right? So then be like, as me attending, and you go through the list of events. Yes, there's the event that Gobfest is putting together, but I could see the events that attendees also personally going to be hosting. Is like, oh sweet, Railways of the World, I want to go to that. So that was like, I think the first one I signed up for, and ended up playing it. And he had the Australian map, so we played the Australian map. And this one is, it's so good. It is so good. So it's all about the money, because you gotta have the money to be able to build your tracks and put your train on it to show that that's your track. And upgrade your locomotive so that it's stronger so that you can travel further. And but there's no money at the beginning. You got to take bonds in order to be able to get the money to begin with. But now as you build and you start delivering goods, so I was like, okay, so I'm building a train between this location and this location. Each locations have certain cubes on it, colored cubes, and you need to move a colored cube from one spot into a city that has that background color because they're receiving those type of goods. So I've built, from Melbourne to Canberra there, and then I can now deliver the black cubes for Melbourne to Canberra. So that's 2 cities away, 2 stops away. So I would need to have a locomotive of value of 2 or more in order to be able to do that. But then I've gone 2 deliveries, and then my income moves up by 2 spaces. And then it was so cool. It's so cool. I just like, this is an economic route building game. Like, for some people, I think it probably would feel a little dry if you don't like this type of game. Turns out I love them. Just absolutely love them. And there was the game that I talked about, Pan Am, earlier, that really reminded me of this game because you're kind of doing similar things, and the more route you're building, the more your income is gonna go. And the fact that I like this type of game is why I like Pan Am, and it made it on my top 9. And this is why Railways of the World is number 2. It's so good. Then, in number 1 position for the month of March is Dune Imperium Uprising. So this is a reprint, like they remade it. So it was Dune Imperium, now it's Dune Imperium Uprising. I've never played Dune Imperium, so I don't know how it compares. This one was out in 2023. I don't own this game yet. I want it. I'm going to own it eventually. And I ended up playing the really deluxeified copy. Honestly, I think I don't want the one with the minis. The other version, like the simpler version, has like little wooden, and I like the look of the little wooden meeples and all that stuff. I think maybe even better than these ones. Now, if the minis were painted, maybe, but I know I'm not painting my minis. So I kind of just like the look of it, just looked cleaner, I think. But this game was so much fun. Now, and as I said, I was like, oh yeah, everybody's comparing it to Lost Ruin of Arnak. And I don't get it. And apparently they kind of both came out at the same time. Doom Imperium and Lost Ruin of Arnak both came out at the same time. And it was similar, as in there's a bunch of different things you can concentrate on. You can go into battle. You can move up on this track. So you can go and kind of place these things so that you can collect this and get points this way. So it had a lot of that, which I guess matches Lost Ruin of Arnak. Lost Ruin of Arnak does a similar thing there. But playing this didn't give me a Lost Ruin of Arnak feel. In fact, I would compare this one more to Blood Rage. Personally, it just kind of felt a bit more that way to me. But this is really good. Now you have the track, and you got to move up certain level of track in order to be able to do some of the actions or kind of unlock some of the locations you can go to. It's worker placement. You have, I think, 3 workers of different things you can do. And you can unlock a 4th, or you have 2 and you can unlock a 3rd, something like that. And then you have your army, and then you put them out because you could send them to battle. And each one would give you kind of a value of 1, and it's whoever has the most value would win that. And then you have like whoever was in battle, there's like a first prize, second prize, and third prize. So depending on where you ranked, what kind of reward you would get from it. But then if you've kind of got yourself a hook, then you can actually bring in these big worms, and I can't remember if they're the sandworms, I think, but you can bring them into battle, and they have a higher value, but then also they double your reward. So cool. Now, we played it, I was kind of trailing behind the whole game. I was not in the lead at all until the very last round, and I had set myself up that in this last battle, and I have my worm that gives me double the reward, and the reward that you can activate is you get points, and then you can spend money for points. And so it's like, okay, because it's really tight. Like, you play to 10 points, and it kind of goes to 14 probably at most, so it's a tight game. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go there, get double that, so I ended up getting 2 points, kind of catching up almost, and then spending money, and I had sold some of the spices so that I could get enough money to be able to spend money to get another point. Now I'm tied for lead. It's me and Travis, we're tied for first, so we have to go into the tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker is whoever has the most spice. And he won by one because I had to sell that one spice. I was like, oh my god. It was like, it felt so epic. It was unreal, amazing. I really enjoyed this game and I really want it now. So that was my number one, Dune Imperium Uprising. So that was it for the games that I've played in the month of March. Here they all are. Be sure to follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram as Mel underscore board game underscore room. I also do a podcast with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist. And my YouTube channel's Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.